rising uncertainty.
Uncertainty
has been the theme this year. It's mostly been trade policy uncertainty coming out of the U.S.
Uncertainty is the word echoing through global markets.
You really need to take a view on whether the tariffs are a feature or a bug of this administration.
As new U.S. tariffs shatter supply chains and Middle East tensions inflame energy prices, the world faces an economic stress test unlike any in decades.
This decade is on track to be the slowest growth global growth rates since the 1960s.
The 90-day pause for U.S. reciprocal tariffs is ticking towards an end. Nearly 80% of chief economists surveyed by the World Economic Forum see current developments as part of a long-term shift in the global economy rather than a short-term disruption, up 18 percentage points from November.
It's not going to be a period of uncertainty volatility whereby some negotiations get done by early July and then we have certainty. No, it's not going to be like that.
Okay, so if trade wars and tariffs are here to stay, what then?
过去呢，你考虑的最主要是什么呢？成本效率。现在还要考虑供应链的安全。
A shifting focus from cost to reliability.
There's going to be a period of a second round impact where a lot of countries adjust and try to find new markets, and there's going to be greater competition that a lot of business face.
We've basically kind of given up forecasting on the back of every policy announcement, so we've moved to ranges.
Chief economists, business leaders, and World Economic Forum professionals. I'm talking to all of them to see where the uncertainty could be leading, and if a new trade order is forming around the globe. It's that time of year. I'm at the summer Davos in the Chinese city of Tianjin. This event gathers people from more than 90 countries and an ideal opportunity to check the pulse of many different sectors. Businesses are bearing the brunt of greater uncertainty, especially those with expansion plans.
我们在全球呢布了有10个研发中心，然后也有这个100多个生产基地。
Zhou Yungjie is the head of Chinese home appliance and consumer electronics maker Haier, which has been selling the most home appliances in the world for 16 years.
像亚洲呢有中国的基地，东南亚的基地，对吧？像这个泰国啊、越南、印度尼西亚都有。那么在这个南亚呢，我们在巴基斯坦也有工业园，在这个欧洲呢。我们在这个除了在意大利之外，我们还有在这个土耳其有生产基地，在非洲呢，我们不管在尼日利亚、埃及，都有生产基地，包括在阿尔及利亚，我们也准备在做新的投资。在这个美洲呢，在美国有基地，在这个墨西哥也有基地。那未来我们在南美也会有更多的这个规划。
The conglomerate was one of the first batch of Chinese firms to start their business expansion abroad, with its first export dating back to 1991. So, 3.5 decades, it's enough for the company to build itself into a multinational with a large global footprint. And while this recent trade turbulence is a major disruption, it's not slowing down the firm's plans overseas.
这一次这个贸易变局呢，是加快了海尔这个智能化的应用，要高效的这个对市场做出反应，那么这个提升供应链的效率。提升供应链的安全的程度和柔性，做了很多的预案。那我们肯定要做各种创新的假设，贸易格局变化到什么程度，我们怎么来适应它？但不管怎么说，我们在海外的未来的投入和布局还会加大力度。
也有说整个战略会提升一些成本，这个海尔感觉到吗？觉得这一部分成本是能够被后期的这个安全性所消化的吗？
它需要这样，我认为还是呢，要通过创新，包括产品的创新，包括呢技术的创新，也包括场景的创新，你要创造更好的有效需求，解决用户呢过去没有满足的这些东西，来这个能够低减这种成本的增加。
So in a nutshell, the globalization isn't going anywhere.
I know the U.S. has, let's be polite, mixed feelings these days about globalization, but the rest of the world continues to be all in. Whether you're talking to Europeans, you're talking to the Chinese, or you're talking to countries from the global south.
You look at the U.S., which can account for something like 15% global imports, right? If there's demand in the world is smaller, then there's going to be extra capacity for products glut that need to find some market to go. So everyone's going to be looking for new markets.
The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund have both further lowered their global economic outlook for 2025. While the world is worrying about if the current policy changes could lead to a global recession, chief economists aren't ready to call it.
And it's not necessarily a recession or a downturn, but we have the U.S. just as an example, starting the year with growth close to 3% and ending the year with growth close to 1%. So it's a slowing, and central banks are going to be cutting rates.
And how's China, the world's second largest economy, going?
The Chinese economy is so far doing pretty well. Our guess is that the second quarter GDP will still be above 5%, which means the first half will be okay.
It seems like in the middle of this uncertainty, with the 90-day tariff reprieve approaching an end and heightened tensions in the Middle East, no one knows exactly where the world is going. But one thing is clear: governments and businesses are seeking ways to get through this moment or even grow.
It's important to shift the mindset at some point from a defense to an offense, meaning for businesses, policymakers, investors to not just thinking, I'm going to wait through this, I'm going to get to it and build walls, but to start thinking, but instead of building walls, can we build the windmill? How can we take advantage of these opportunities, of these trends, so that becomes our tailwinds? And I think if you see, during every crisis, biggest companies are formed, biggest winners are formed during that time. So I think that mindset shift needs to happen among organizations.
The global market for 6 clean energy technologies could be worth up to 2 trillion, and the trade supporting that could be around 500 billion, and that's data from the International Energy Agency. So I think for me, when you say long term, I really would like to see those kinds of conversations of what are the types of terms of trade that we need for the digital economy and for the green transition. We see China as a very strong player in 6 clean energy technologies. So the International Agency has highlighted that China accounts for 70% of manufacturing on average across areas like solar and battery and so on and so forth. So we're seeing a lot of innovation that China can bring to the world in that context.